Wednesday, November 6th, and what is it? It's 2:30 in the afternoon. This is take two. You know when you do an entire take and you have your mic turned way down because of something else you were doing last night where you didn't need your mic up very loud, and then you're like, man, this is totally unusable. We have to do the whole thing over again. So now I'm probably going to be even better at telling you what's coming up next for the weather. Anyways, it's very nice today. High pressure in southern BC. It's steering nastiness into the north coast and up into northern BC. But for us who are sitting enjoying the high, it's great. We had temperatures up over 11 degrees here in Wells, right? Really wonderful. Too bad it can't last forever. No, it can't. We got signals for snow this weekend coming on tap into southern British Columbia. We'll look at how much, where, and when. Of course, for some of you, that'll be rain. For some of you, it'll be nothing at all. But if you are traveling across province and if you are making plans to go into Alberta this weekend, I would say don't go Saturday, and here's why. Let's go. There it is. This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen. Get on! Wow. I'll watch the video later. Hey, try mopping this. This week's forecast is brought to you by Crazy for Color Bread and Breakfast down there in Sorrento. It's halfway between Calgary and Vancouver, 4 kilometers outside Sorrento, and they got all kinds of English breakfast for you. French toast and bacon, anybody? Looks pretty good, right? So you can call them right here at 250-675-4966. Thanks very much for supporting the channel, Daryl. As per usual lately, the worst weather in all Canada going on today is in the province of British Columbia. Let's have a look at it right now. If you are to head up to Prince Rupert and whatnot, you could be finding yourself getting up to 130 millimeters of rain, depending where, between now and Thursday morning. So heavy rain hitting up the coast. There's a good rainfall that's going to be sliding its way on down as well. I'm not sure if that'll meet rainfall criteria or not, rainfall warning criteria. Inland, we still getting heavy rains there in Terrace and Stewart, Kitimat, maybe even. They could get 70 to 110 millimeters of rain, so a little bit more the lower end of that spectrum. And ending sometime later today will be the 10 to 20 centimeters that are going on currently in the Dease Lake area. Nicest weather in all Canada yesterday. Was breaking some records in Ontario. They've been keeping records in Cobourg since 1955, and they hit 18.2 yesterday. And Kingston area, they set a new record, or tied one of 18.7 set in 1988. And there was an old record set in 22 as well. And Windsor area, 23.8. So some very warm temperatures. They've been keeping records there since 1866. Do I think this is climate change? I don't think it's that simple. I mean, maybe that's why that heat is down there. But we have this open delivery system into Ontario from the south that has in the past brought even things like Hurricane Hazel in the 1950s. A very destructive storm that hit into Toronto like a hurricane proper, right? So you get this flow from the Gulf, and it can easily transport warm weather directly into Ontario. That's partly what made the ice storm possible, was a competing of this Gulf moisture coming up in warmth, combining itself with the cold Arctic air mass sitting there in January 1997. Or 98, I should say. I would know because I was there. So currently a little bit of an atmospheric river hitting up still into Terrace, Ketchikan. And I got to remind you people that, yeah, we use the term atmospheric rivers. There's 5 categories, category 1 through 5, atmospheric rivers. Pretty much 4 out of 5 of these categories are what we call beneficial. You know, this is what we really want to see in BC, is this constant stream of water coming into the province to end our drought for the foreseeable future. Maybe as a contract wildland firefighter, part of me wants to be out in the field working with the boys, feeling like I'm contributing to the province, working my body, feeling like I'm getting one more season in as I'm pushing closer to 50 years old now. There's those selfish things that I have where I want to be out there working, but at the same time, I know what's best for the province, for the land, for the animals, for everything, right? The trees, all the plants. I want to see this end. So there's heavy snowfall going on up there. That may temporarily cross into Fort Nelson, so don't be surprised if you catch a band of flurries that may even be quite remarkably heavy. That's a pretty solid looking line, so that may cross through Fort Nelson there still tonight as we move into Thursday, still pounding up into that same location, right? So this thing's been kind of sitting there more or less, probably get a good 24 hours in this region, so that does meet atmospheric river category. If it only delivers 110 millimeters of rain, I'd say that's a very beneficial one. We don't have much for concerns that it's going to have devastating effects of any kind. So still on Thursday, nice weather in the southern interior, some snow possible through the north. Friday, we see those coast mountains still taking the end of that pounding. It's going to be starting to come to its end by then, but Vancouver Island still taking a lot of rain, some heavy snow fall in the mountains there, but nothing out of the question, nothing crazy, nothing that's alarming or scary, just something that's happening. So on Friday, that goes on. Pine Pass looking at taking some snow at that time, maybe some rain the Grand Prairie side, a little bit warmer over there. Caribou Mountains looks good for flurries Friday night, I would say, into Saturday morning. Coast Mountains still taking a big pounding. We'll have a look at how that next storm kind of rolls in. It's nothing too remarkable, this next one, and it's going to sort of have a similar story as to this Monday, what it looks like. That band that's sitting up there in the Prince George region, more or less, into the Caribou Mountains, into the Pine Pass, sitting there. South Coast taking a pretty good pounding directly inland from them. Through Sunday, heavy snowfall in the Pine Pass and the Caribou Mountains as well. Looks like all the way down into Revelstoke, maybe starting on Saturday sometime as well. I would suggest that you don't want to be traveling when some of this weather's going on, right? So we will watch. This model has a little bit different timing than the next one we'll look at. So keep that in mind as well. We always have, this is a GFS model. We may have other models that have slightly different opinions. So sometimes you look at this and go, oh, we're good. You say, well, actually, I live between Quesnel and Prince George, so I'm not going to get that snow. It doesn't necessarily work that way. But looking at next week, Monday, some of those same areas that took some of the snowfall this week will take some of that as well on Monday. Boom, Monday evening, down in the Columbias, Revelstoke again. So there's a couple times that in the next number of days coming through the weekend where you wouldn't want to be doing those travels into Alberta. So you really want to plan your traveling around those gaps. And we'll have a tighter look at that in a minute. But first, we'll have a larger look at what's going on. Into Wednesday evening, atmospheric river still present, although somewhat weakened, still hitting that same section of North BC coast fair bit, still moving with that precipitation into northern BC. High pressure establishing itself pretty strongly through the middle of the continent there. That is now bringing our temperatures in Ontario back down as they get more of a westerly and northwesterly flow back down to seasonal or something to that effect. We no longer, this has cut off the flow of the warmth that's coming up in from the Gulf into Ontario that was really warming things up for a day or two. So back to normal for you. And strong storm off the Aleutian Islands again. That same pattern again and again and again. And so we finish up this first round here by Friday sometime with, snow, rain into Vancouver Island, up into northern BC. Southern BC looking pretty nice still Friday. Looking pretty nice until we start seeing some flurries develop in that sort of Caribou and Prince George, Pine Pass region more or less overnight Saturday. And don't pay too much attention to this high here. That's very short-lived. It's not going to really be our story, as on Sunday, a new storm takes sort of an aim at the coast, and it's a weak one, but it will transfer over to Alberta and start to become an Alberta clipper and bring a line of snow and precipitation across this central swath, almost like, kind of from north of Edmonton right across to Ontario. We'll have a deeper look at all that in a minute here. Next storm sliding on down on Monday, and that should bring us something similar to how the week started here. Maybe less snowfall, maybe not near as heavy a snowfall rates. I don't think so far, but that's Monday. We're looking far out now, so I don't want to guess too much. But I'm concerned that this drop here will result in the backside of this low will result in temperatures coming down. So I'm not sure exactly how far down those temperatures come yet. I think that's next week's story to sort of think about. But we could see temporarily some cooler weather. Or in other words, I don't see enough consistency yet in the modeling to really be sure of where this leads next. You can see our hurricane does hit into Cuba, I think today, more or less. And it's stronger than maybe they want it to be. And some signals show that it weakens before it hits the U.S. coast. So that remains to be seen. I'm not here to forecast hurricanes, but we have this high cyclone going on there that I think this will chase and give us a bit of a, we'll see. Generally, that's what happens. The hurricane will chase some low out there. Looks like another one trying to form out in the Pacific as well. So now looking at BC, so ridge and high up, nice weather right now. Yeah, the nice flow from the subtropical regions. This next upper level low presents itself in the United States. that brings our jet stream fairly down. So right now we're seeing a high jet and we're seeing nice warmth coming in and that flow from that southwesterly area, right? But if this jet stream takes a beating down like there, we could see some cooler temperatures come across Western Canada at that time. Things like that, when they're a week away, I just don't feel like it does much good to really guess much. So some thunderstorms in the United States still again today. Looks like northern parts of Texas, maybe some New Mexico, up into Colorado. They've had, I think it was in the 50s, how many tornado warnings there's been so far in the state of Oklahoma. I think it was in the 50s so far since November 1st. They've been very tumultuous so far down there. Some very interesting storms. They have that second thunderstorm season, and that's that same Gulf flow I was talking about. That warmth and humidity comes up and hits this cooler, drier air, and kablamo. Now here's our atmospheric river, somewhat weak, coming into northern BC, and then up towards Fort Nelson, more or less, although you're probably just seeing some cloud cover at the moment there. You are at risk of having some of this snow band through when it does. Here's our next low out there. Right now, pretty weak. It might get down in the 970s, we'll see in some models. So not incredibly strong storm, and that may be our next story coming. Well, if we look at the snow projections for the next week, most regions take a little. Some of you are going to take rain and or snow, or rain changing to snow at night, things like that. But we're going to see some of that as well when things come a little cooler, with flow is going to be coming more from the north at some point, not this nice southwesterlies that we got right now. Places like the Caribous and Columbias, you could see some pretty large snow all totals. There's going to be times you don't want to be taking that Revelstoke drive across. Times where Highway 3 isn't great. Times where the Jasper route isn't great. And you may find the Pine Pass more openings in it depending on when you go. So we'll have a look at what this all means. Big snowfall totals, could be a meter of fresh snow over the next week on the North Coast Mountains, or on the Coast Mountains there. Big snowfall totals up there. Wonderful, isn't it? So overnight tonight, atmospheric river still pounding in there into the North Coast. I had to go out taking a turn, getting a little bit of a rinse there before morning time, most likely. Strong precipitation. That warmth, you're getting a lot of rain, more so than snow. So you have to go pretty far north to get into where that snow is right now. So that's how much things have warmed up in British Columbia over the last couple days. So interesting, we're down to 4.4 outside right now. So sometime around noon, around the time I was having lunch at Diggy's Diner, maybe a little later, 138, really nice, up to 12 degrees at 138. This is my weather station brought to you by Diggy's Diner. I had lunch there this afternoon. Of course, Curtis and Shannon, really good to me all the time, and I love visiting with them and supporting the restaurant the best I can, and they supported me by buying this weather station. So we were down to 3 below last night, but we jumped up to 12 for a little while, and then now we're coming right back down quickly. So we've hit our maximum solar for the afternoon, is part of what's going on there. And what I was noticing, although now temperatures have come up a little bit in Quesnel, but at that time that we were sitting here at 12 degrees, they're like at 7, 8, and 9, and 5 through different other parts of the Caribou, like Williams Lake was down to 5 at the Williams Lake Airport. At the same time, I was reading 12 here. Why would that be? Does warm air sink? No, it floats. Throw it into the bog. She's made of wood. She's a witch. Burn her. Yeah, that's what happens sometimes. We find here we're 2,500 feet higher up here in Wells than Quesnel is downtown, right? And very busy place, Quesnel. There's like 10,000 people there, man. Like, it's too much for me. I can barely handle it, right? So you think couldn't handle American politics, man? I can barely handle going to the gas station in Quesnel. Like, I'm up here in the mountains for a reason. I know why I'm here. Sometimes that warm air rises, and we find that when there's high pressure like this, sometimes the cool air sinks right down to the valley bottoms, and we find ourselves in Quesnel much colder. I've seen it where it's 43 below in Quesnel. That's extreme. It's not like that happens very often, but it was 43 below in Quesnel, but it was only 37 below in Wells. It was great. We were so lucky to have that inversion. Just kept things so much nicer. Strong winds on the coast right now. There is some strong winds being reported in the interior, Kamloops, even Quesnel reporting 43. Pretty calm here right now. My weather station hasn't read much for wind. I think I need to move it to a little bit closer to the edge of the porch to get better readings. But there isn't that much wind going on here. We're protected in the valley. Certain directions the wind comes from, we really don't see much of it in the valley. And sometimes you hear the wind just rushing up top and not doing very much here. So Thursday, 2 in the afternoon, very nice day for southern BC, unless you're on the coast, unless you're on Vancouver Island, especially if you're in Kitimat and Terrace and this stream, this beam of water, this mostly beneficial rainfall. I don't see any reds going on there. So, it's heavy rainfall, yeah, and some heavy snowfall in higher elevations. Beneficial, good. There's some reds there, so some moments of maybe pounding at nighttime on Thursday. Mostly in the interior, you're still sitting pretty nice coming into Friday. A lot of this is being blocked and deflected by the coast mountains. Taking a jaunt up it and following these isobars, you can see this shortwave bend right here, right? So it's helping steer things up the mountains and leaving the interior still on Friday pretty nice. Although if you're trying to drive over the Duffy on Friday, going to be pretty gross. A mix of rain possibly over by the Caribou, so we could see early here in Wells some of that precip, right? But still, things are kind of warmish still on Friday, still enjoying that southwesterly flow. This is all weakening by this point on Friday evening. However, you can see that, the lows have this flow that comes up the comma there, follows the isobars up. That's what we're getting here is this nice southwesterly flow that was warming things up for a bunch of days. So Saturday, 3 a.m., first signs of snow is already going on well in the Caribou Mountains. So we'll be watching for this time to see what we get for rainfall warnings still on the coast in the next couple days. Maybe we'll see some come up there for Vancouver Island. We could see some mixes of rain and freezing rain as well in the interior. So I'm a little concerned for some of that. Saturday at noon, you could be coming up over the Revelstoke Pass, hitting her hard. It could be some pretty hard bands of snow coming your way through Jasper into Hinton. That would not be very nice for you traveling wise. So you might want to wait till Sunday, or you might want to give her on Friday. If you got to make that jump into Alberta for any reason, you need to cross some of these high mountain passes. If you're in the central interior, you might not see much snow. You might not even see rain. It might be very dry for you. As you can see, the mountains seem to attract this a lot when we get this new low developing this weekend. Alberta Clipper style, you can see Saskatchewan, northern Saskatchewan. Our friends in Big River there are going to see some. The Big River Boys, a great band. You're going to see some of that. It's going to move right across the continent quickly. Something like this as it spreads across. Here we go, Saturday. Now we're seeing it start to stack up a little bit in the coast mountains. There it goes, Sunday low. Off to the race it goes, straight across northern Ontario, maybe Churchill, Manitoba. Take a little maybe it's a little further south of you. Maybe you'll just get a dusting. This line could move a little bit, or it could expand and widen. It could tighten. It could do a lot of things. This modeling just gives us a picture of, what that might look like. So I would anticipate, if you're in northern Saskatchewan, Sunday morning to be seeing snowfall going on there. Get that break in BC. So that's why I say if you have to take that jump over to Alberta, maybe take Sunday. That seems to be the best chance. If you go, midday, try to get your mountains out of the way through the day. Try to beat this next round that comes in. Kind of mimics last weekend's storm a little bit, or last Monday's storm a little bit. Not the same precipitation to work with. No, I don't think we're going to get the same snow totals in a lot of places. It doesn't look like that yet. I mean, that could change. It's not a very deep low, 983, deep enough. And it looks like, snow will happen. There will be a mix. So, we'll come back to this, I think, on the weekend and have a look at where Monday's going. For now, I would say Saturday is your day to not travel. Monday, maybe another day to sort of look at not travel. You might want to, if you have to make a break, go on Thursday, Friday, or take a run for it on Sunday. I would not try to cross into the Rockies, unless you're really paying attention to Drive BC, really paying attention to snowfall warnings and things like that. Fort Nelson, Fort St. John, you may see some snowfall Monday. We'll come back to that again. And hey, I'll eat my words. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I wish I was as good at predicting elections as I am at predicting weather. Clearly, I am not. And I am a little bit nervous for what this could mean for people, for plants, for animals, for the environment. Sure, I am bent that way. It's not about if you consider yourself conservative or consider yourself on the left. I don't really care about that necessarily. I just care about real world practical things. And I care about the cultural shift that's happened. And it scares me. And this is why. I'll show you something. I come from I'm a kid whose grandparents lived through the war in Holland and had, I'll give you another example. Trudy Kerstra, a Dutch woman that I met, she told me how her brother was turned in by national NSBs, or Dutch National Socialists. And neighbors turned her brother in, and he was shot at a camp. They shot him because they picked 10 random people to punish for something that someone had done. I'm with you, Mark. Can't wait for the bloodbath to start. I can't wait for the bloodbath to start. I have a few uppity neighbors that are going down. It's going to be great, just like the good old days. Once our boy is in power, it's going to be a proper, no, we can stop it. No, we won't, can't stop it. Fucking English, dude. We have carte blanche. We have carte blanche. That's what scares me, is this feeling that we can just be fucking mean to people, and we have a right to. It's just like, let's get revenge on everybody we don't like. Let's make them pay. Where am I politically? Honestly, if you know me well, you'd say, well, Joey, he's an anarchist, or some might say he's a libertarian of some sort. So others might say he's one of those men of the land people who doesn't believe the fucking laws apply to him. I'm an artist. I'm out there. I don't really have a political persuasion per se. I haven't. There's some inconsistencies in my voting history. One of my stepdad's best friend was Daryl Cramp, who became member of parliament under the eventually the Harper government. I hated the Harper government, but Daryl Cramp, he's the guy who gave me my first gig where I sat down with a guitar in front of people at the Two Loons restaurant in Madoc, Ontario, and sang the songs I knew, not just playing bass in some punk band or playing drums or something like that. It was the first time I sat down and did what would become Joey Only. Daryl gave me that opportunity. I didn't support John Rustad's bid for Conservative Party to run the province of British Columbia. But still, my friend Sheldon Clare ran for MLA here in the Caribou, and I said to Sheldon, you're built for politics. People like you. You're personable, and you do go to bat for people. He went to bat for me when Barkerville was doing bullshit here. He called them right up and said, "What's this about? Why are you acting like this to my man Joey? So you're a supporter. Sheldon, I care about you, right? So I'm not some partisan fuck, right? But this threat of violence and intimidation and hate, it scares me. I'm the guy in the fire line who I'm like watering a single blade of grass and seeing a hot spot going, oh damn, there's an ant there. The poor thing. The trees are suffering. I mean, I'm that guy. I know it's fucking stupid. I'm whack. But I have this much sympathy and compassion for things, that it hurts me to hear this culture shift that hates academics and intellectualism, intellectualism and the striving for knowledge, that hates the idea of climate change so much that you would rather attack scientific institutions and deregulate them so that their data no longer exists, so you can just go on forward like it doesn't fucking matter. It's crazy to me. I can't tell you what to think. I don't care, whether you lean left or right. It doesn't fucking mean anything in the world. I just care about how you treat the living things around you. That's what I'm here to advocate for, and always have been. And I'm sorry if that's too snowflakey for you. That's the show for today, folks. Enjoy the warm weather while you got it in southern BC. Support the channel if you can. If your business, you got a business and you're watching my forecast and making decisions about what you're going to do and not do, consider supporting me somehow. And if you can't because you're on disability or you're a single mom or whatever, I don't want your support financially. I thank you for watching. I thank when you hit shares and subscribes and likes and telling your friends, hey, watch Joey. He knows what he's talking about. I appreciate all that support. Whatever you got, I'm open to it, and this is what I got to give is my knowledge about the workings of planet Earth, how I see, perceive, and feel the ongoings of nature, and thus wanted to learn why the things I'm seeing are happening. It wasn't enough eventually just to watch a thunderstorm and see the emotion. I had to understand everything about it. I had to know more. I just have to. That's who I am. And it's not just with weather. It's with history. It's with science. It's with sports. It's with kung fu. It's with fucking fighting fire. I just have to know more. I'm just driven to want to know. And I think that's the spirit that is what could save humanity, is thirsting for knowledge and truth, provable, certifiable, repeatable truth. I don't care about my opinion even. I just care about the facts of the matter, and I care about the living creatures around me. That's the show for today, everyone. Take care. Bye now.